In the long run, the price and quantity is indicated by the yellow lines right here. And then when the demand decreases in short run, the price decreases and the quantity decreases to this point. And then when businesses start going out because they're experiencing losses, the supply would decrease and the supply curve goes like that. And the prices increase back to the normal, but the quantity decreases again. Part A, the marginal cost would be lowest at stage two because in order to maximize profit, the price would need to be equal to marginal cost, where P equals MC. So, as seen on the graph, the price is lowest at stage two, therefore, the marginal cost would be lowest at stage two. Uh, Part B, in the short run, after demand falls, because they would want to increase the demand for products by giving other free substitutes. See, in this case, price is actually never greater than the average cost. The price is equal to the average cost at stage one and two, or stage one and three. In stage two, short run, the price is less than the average cost, so you see the businesses exiting the market. Um, Restating this in another way, the profits are never positive. In any cases, in stage one and three, the profits are zero because price is equal to the average cost, and in stage two, the profits are negative. And F, due to the negative profits in short run, firms will leave the industry, but none of the firms that are remaining will actually shrink. Most of the firms will just leave the industry, which will bring back to the nominal price. Question two: uh, the the carpet manufacturing industries is the type of industry is a decreasing cost industry. So if you look at the supply curve for it, it's not a straight increasing line, it's more of a curved. And when the demand goes down, the price of the carpet would actually increase, which is opposite to what you would actually experience in a regular demand and supply curve.
Question 3 asks to analyze two situations where innovation makes it possible to lower the average cost of producing a product. And so what will be the price in the long run for both products? Then the second part asked why will the price for goods not rise in the long run for constant cost industries? And then it asked to identify the effect that demand has on price in the long run and identify who benefits in any competitive industry from a fall in average costs. So let's answer these questions. So firstly, the price for both industries may rise in the short term. However, it will restore itself to an initial price in the long run. So it effectively the price will not change in the long run because it'll rise up and then it'll come back down to initial price. Now, why is this? Because as companies become more profitable, as the market becomes more profitable, companies will start to enter the market. This will create an oversaturation of the market. Supply will increase, so thus consumer demand will go down as there is an increase in supply, so thus price will lower to the initial price. And who benefits in this scenario? So any fall in the average cost of an industry will benefit producers. So a company's profits will increase as the wages to produce something decrease. So a decrease in average cost will allow companies to maximize both profits and productivity at higher rates. Question 4. Question 4 asks to analyze a decreasing cost industry like the emergence of Cambodian-owned donut shops in the 1990s. So it asks a series of questions about the industry, like who was Mr. Ngoy most likely to hire? This was the first guy to initially start donut shops. What effect would his hiring practices have on the emergence of other Cambodian-owned shops? Would this create a virtuous cycle? What type of industry would this be? And then would this cycle continue forever? Why or why not? So first of all, that's Mr. Nagoy with, I assume, his the initial donut shop. So Mr. Nagoy would most likely hire other Cambodian refugees. Now, why is this? Because his sphere of influence includes other refugees that he knows. He knows that it's easy for them to assimilate into his culture, to assimilate into his business practices. He also probably knows a lot more of them. So thus, by hiring a lot more Cambodian refugees, this kind of answers the second part. So while he hires these Cambodian refugees are getting the same skills. They're learning how to operate day-to-day businesses. They're learning how to operate machines, the skills, and so then they have the abilities to go and open up their other businesses. This creates a cycle where they begin to expand their sphere of influence. So not only is it Mr. Nagoy who knows incoming Cambodian refugees, but all these other donut shop owners, so they can reach even more Cambodian refugees. And so they bring them in, they hire them, they begin to give them the skills, they begin to show them how to run management options, and then these people that the new shop owners hired begin to open up shops of their own. So yes, it would create a virtuous cycle where there's a continual cycle of employment, hiring and learning skills, and then going out and creating businesses of their own. And this would be an example, like Dalton or Holland during the tulip flower bloom. This would be an example of a decreasing cost industry. And so this cycle would not continue forever simply because it's impossible to continuously decrease costs. There comes a point when it's just effectively impossible without a company becoming insolvent. So from that point, company would most likely change into a constant cost industry, like in question number 3.
So with question number 5, both consultants can be correct because they're discussing two different things. The first consultant is talking about the current per unit price that you're selling units for and the loss that you are incurring because of that. The second consultant is discussing how at the current per unit price you can cover the production costs, but that has nothing to do with the overall cost of what you're selling per unit. So based on this discussion, the first consultant seems like the correct advice, as if you're losing money regardless of how much you're producing, it makes sense to produce less.
So question 6 is about 3 different winery owners in France, and over the last few years, wine sold for €7 per bottle. However, the price has fallen to 5. So given the information in the table, which of these winemakers should shut down temporarily? So first, I have to calculate each winemaker's profit, which is calculated by total revenue minus total costs. So this would be the recession revenues minus the fixed costs and variable costs in the table. So Paulette's was negative $10,000, Camille's profit is negative $70,000, and Hortense's was negative $250,000. Part B asks which of these women, if any, earned a profit, and it was none of them because the numbers were all negative for profits. So who should stay in business in the short run? Paulette and Camille should stay in business because their revenues are greater than the marginal costs, and Hortense should not. She should shut down because the revenue is less than the variable costs. So fixed costs are not considered when making economic decisions like these because they need to be paid no matter what. So even though the total cost is greater than the total revenue, the revenue for Camille and Paulette are still bigger than the variable costs, so they should stay in business. So D, fill in the blank, even if profit is negative, if revenues are greater than variable costs, then it's best to stay open in the short run. And for which of these wineries, if any, is P greater than AC? So none of the wineries have P is greater than AC because their total revenues are all smaller than their total